If you're a fan of the factory front bumper, but you want that additional front end protection for your 2021 or newer Ford Bronco, this rough country nudge bar with the 4-inch round LED lights will be a great addition to your truck. Now this will offer some additional protection in conjunction with your front bumper for any head-on obstacles that you may come in contact with while preserving the life of your front bumper. Now this nudge bar will also be a great addition if you're looking for some additional lighting on the front end for any dark back roads and you're a fan of the round or classic style light appearance for more of that Baja or overland look. Now I would like to call out though right up front that this does not fit models equipped with the factory tow hooks that are mounted in the bumper, so I would just keep that in mind when you're shopping around. This will feature a tubular build that will protect the front portion of the bumper and the grille from any head-on obstacles, again, whether that be on the street while you're driving around or while you're out on the trail. Now this kit will also feature the 4-inch round LED lights lined up in the center of the nudge bar. Now the lights themselves will feature Osram LEDs with a 30-degree spot beam and roughly a 4,300 lumen output for optimal visibility at night, which is especially helpful in rural back roads and nighttime trail riding. When it comes to the construction, this will be made of a heavy-duty 3-inch steel tube construction, being durable and able to take a hit whenever it's needed. Now on top, you'll also see a textured black powder coat finish that will offer protection to the steel underneath against any rust or corrosion, but it's also going to assist in that heavy-duty or more off-road appearance. Now the lights will boast a tough construction as well, with a high-strength die-cast aluminum housing and an IP67 dust and waterproof rating to keep some peace of mind that the LEDs are safe inside and the lens is not going to fog up on you. Now this kit will also come with everything that you need, including all of the brackets and the hardware, as well as a full wiring harness for the lights, making this bolt on and keeping the install straightforward when it comes to getting this on your Bronco. When it comes to price, this will come in at roughly $400. I like the fact that this, compared to other choices, keeps it pretty simple when it comes to the nudge bar itself and also gives a classic look when it comes to the lighting. Now other options in the category may come with square lighting, a thicker tubing, or even a glossy or stainless appearance instead of this tough textured black. Now I think if you're looking for a quality way to get some better protection and lighting for the front end of your Bronco without having to modify your bumper, then this is going to be a great choice. Install again will be straightforward at a 1 out of 3 wrenches on the difficulty meter, taking roughly 3 hours to get the job done with some pretty basic hand tools. At this point, we can head over to the shop and check out a detailed breakdown of the install and what that looks like step by step. So that's going to wrap it up for me. Let's go ahead and get into it.
Tools required for this install include an impact gun, a ratchet, scissors or diagonal cutters, 13 and 17 millimeter wrenches, an extension, a swivel adapter, a 15 millimeter swivel socket, and 10, 13, 14, 17 millimeter sockets, and some zip ties.
What's up guys? Today we're installing a nudge bar on our Bronco, so let's get started.
So the first thing we need to do is hop underneath and remove our skid plate. It's held in by 6 15 millimeter bolts. We've got 2 up front in front of our tow hooks, 2 in the middle, and then 2 in the rear. So I've got a 15 millimeter swivel socket to remove all of these bolts. Now with our bolts removed, we can slide that over our tow hooks and remove it. Next we can remove this cover from our tow hook, and we'll do that same thing on the other side. Next we can loosen up these 2 15 millimeter bolts holding our tow hook to the frame. We'll take a 15 millimeter socket with an extension and we can loosen these up. And then you can do that same thing on the other side. So now with our tow hooks loosened up, we're ready to install our mounting brackets. Now you're going to want the flat side going up towards the frame rail. And then on the driver's side here, we want the leg that kicks out towards the left or towards the outside of the vehicle. So now we can slide this in, straighten it out. And now we can take our 15mm socket and tighten down our 2 bolts. And then you can do that same thing on the other side.
Now that we have our brackets installed onto the Bronco, we can get our lights assembled and mounted to our nudge bar. So we have a bracket here, a long bolt that's going through that bracket, and we'll put a nut on the other side. And then we have our bolt that's going through the bottom of the bracket that we'll use to mount this to our nudge bar. So we can grab our bracket. First thing we're gonna do is take our shorter bolt and put that through the hole. It's got these welds to hold that bolt into place. And then we'll take our long bolt, and then a flat washer, a lock washer, and a nut. And then we'll just get our bracket straight. And then we'll take a 14mm socket on the bolt side and a 13mm wrench on the nut side to tighten that down. And now you can do the same thing for the other 3 lights, and we'll get these mounted onto our nudge bar. So now we're ready to mount our lights to the nudge bar. We've got our bolt sticking through the bottom that's gonna go through these tabs, and then we've got a flat washer, lock washer, and nut that we can get on the other side. So now we'll straighten that out and take our 13mm socket to tighten it down. And then we'll do that same exact thing for the other 3 lights. So now with our brackets installed, we can slide our skid plate over our brackets and tow hooks and slide it into place.
Next, we can come underneath our skid plate and reinstall our 6 bolts. And now we'll grab our 15mm socket and tighten all of these down.
So now we can pop open our hood and get started on our wiring. We have 2 harnesses, both with 2 connectors. So we'll have 1 harness for 2 lights and another harness for the other 2 lights. Now, because of that, we have 2 switches. So I'm gonna start by running these switches through the grommet right next to our BrakeMaster cylinder and into the cabin. So now we have this grommet right down here behind our fuse box and next to our BrakeMaster cylinder. So we can kind of pull back on the outside and shove our switch through there. That'll be 1. So now with our switches run through that grommet, we can start to clean up some of this mess. We've got our 2 battery terminal connectors that we're gonna need to be over here on both of our harnesses. So now all the excess I'm gonna bunch up and zip tie together, and we can tuck that away in between our fuse box and our battery. I've got the 2 connectors that are going to the other side just draped across the engine bay just to keep that kind of organized. I'll take a zip tie. Tie all of that up. And then I'll do the same thing for this one. And then you can take a pair of scissors or diagonal cutters and cut off the excess of both of those zip ties. And then I'm just gonna run this, tuck this away right in here. Leave our terminal connectors off to the side. And I'll just do the same thing with this other harness. While running these 2 wires back towards the firewall, we have a big harness that we can follow with a couple zip ties to run these over to the other side. Now I'm gonna start with the driver's side for our 2 wires running down to plug into our lights. We have this nice gap right behind the headlight right here that we can drop these down through. Now in order to have enough wire to work with to plug in our connectors, we're gonna run the 2 for the passenger side across the front. So we have a harness here that we can follow over. I'll zip tie here, here, and then we can zip tie to this tab. That way we keep it away from our fans. So I'll grab my first zip tie and throw it back here. Throw another one in here. So now we can take our 2 wires and I'm gonna run this under the intake inlet. And now to make sure that these wires don't sag and get down by our fan, we have a hole right here in our bracket that we can run a zip tie through to hold these nice and tight. So we're gonna pull our wires nice and tight. And then we can tighten down our zip tie so that these won't be moving around, and cut off our excess. And then once we're to this point, we can do exactly what we did on the other side and come down to this gap behind the headlight to feed our 2 wires down towards the floor. So now we can hook up our battery connectors. So we have a tab on this cover on the positive side to pull this up. And then we'll grab a 10mm socket and loosen up one of these nuts. And I'll slide on our 2 connectors. Thread that nut back on. And tighten it down. Then we can close the cover. And then we'll get our 2 negatives. Loosen up this 10mm nut on the negative side. Slide those 2 on. Thread our nut back on. And then tighten those down with that same 10mm socket. And then we can tuck the rest of our wires away. So now that we have this all mounted up, we just have to run our wires for the lights down towards the floor to where we can plug it into our harness. So we have this nice slot right through here that we can push them back. It'll come out to the right side of where our skid plate is. So we'll get the 2 on this side running over here. And then you can do that same thing on the other side.
So now we can come down right behind our front bumper in our wheel well.
And this is where our connectors have come down to. So then we'll grab the connector on our harness and plug this in. And we'll find our other one. And grab our other connector and get those into place. And then now we just need to zip tie up all of our extra harness. We have this harness that's going to our fog light, so we can just bunch up all of our excess and use a zip tie to tie that to there. So first I'll zip tie our harness together. And then take your scissors or diagonal cutters to cut off the excess. And then I'll take another zip tie to zip tie that to our existing harness. Tuck our 2 wires. Cut the excess of our zip tie. And then you can repeat that same process on the other side.
Now the last thing we need to do is go inside the cabin and grab our 2 switches and mount them up to the dash here. So we'll pull this double-sided tape backing off, and then we can stick these down. And now you can mount these wherever you'd like. This just seems like a good spot here. So that'll wrap up this review and install of the Rough Country Nudge Bar with 4-inch round LED lights for your 2021 and newer Bronco. Thank you for watching, and for all things Bronco, keep it right here at extremeterrain.com.